Yeah, welcome to an interview with the developer and the admin of an exciting new Minecraft server called CivMC. It is a server in the civilization genre, and it is slated to launch in the next few months. Please give them their support on this Patreon link that I've linked above. Without further ado, let me introduce Wingzero.
Hey, thank you for having me. Absolutely.
Alright, so I have a few questions. What is the civilization genre for people who are kind of new to this whole thing?
Yeah, so the civilization genre of Minecraft is a subset of Minecraft server, kind of crafted around a certain suite of plugins that we've developed over the years. And it's a very unique kind of Minecraft where it's all about no admin intervention. So it's up to the players to do everything. So there's no planned events, nothing like that. So it's kind of up to the players to make the civilization for themselves. So it's a really cool and unique subset of Minecraft server.
Is civilization an anarchy server?
Yeah, well, so that's actually interesting that you bring that up because there's often quite a bit of debate over whether or not we fall into the category of anarchy. I think where the difference lies is when players think of an anarchy server, they think of, anything goes, players running wild. And I think Civilization is similar in that the admins really don't intervene very much. We don't allow hacking or cheating, but otherwise you can do just about whatever you want. But in Civilization, players create the rules and players create the structure. So while there may be no boundaries, which is similar to an anarchy server, the players create civilizations and will uphold their own senses of justice. And a lot of players who come here expecting anarchy are quite frustrated to learn that players have created, robust legal systems and justice systems.
One question is, what is your role in all of this? Are you a server developer? Do you write the code? Are you an admin? Do you fund this? What exactly is your role in this project?
Yeah, so I'm one of the founders that started this whole CivMC project, and I would say I'm one of the head admins along with Blue Surveyor. Um, I'm not directly a developer. I've worked alongside developers in the community for quite a while now. Previously, in my role as an admin on CivClassic, which was a previous Civ server.
So you're an admin on this server.
Yeah. So my role is kind of admin, helping guide the project and working with developers.
What kind of things are you planning on doing that are different from the servers before you, like CivClassics, Civ Realms, these kind of things?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the biggest distinctions between us and Civ Classic is that Civ Classic had a very hands-off approach with the admins. And by that I mean the admins really they didn't moderate at all. They didn't plan anything or progress anything. And one of the key differences we're looking to do is kind of stay active, try to find new ways to improve the server and add new features to the server along the way.
How active do you think uh, being an admin will be?
Exactly. I think that's one of the big things. I mean, Civ Classic was very successful. It ran for over 4 years, which is impressive for a server, a Minecraft server. But one of the common complaints over all 4 years was that, if players had to mod mail, the admins never responded. The admins were always ignoring them. And, we want to be the opposite of that. We're still not going to intervene in the gameplay, but it's important to crack down on hacking and cheating and toxicity because nobody wants to join a toxic server. And, one of the goals is we want to grow the server and the community. We want to see new players joining so that we can get up into 100 plus players.
How large would a map be?
Yeah, so Civ Classic was actually a 13,000 radius. So in terms of Minecraft servers, it's actually quite large. And I think we have been thinking of staying just a little smaller than that. I don't know if you've played other servers like Civ Realms, which had very small maps. I think we're looking to be a little closer to Civ Classic in size, but maybe not quite as large.
How do you plan on addressing structure decay in the sense of, like how reinforcements on blocks eventually decay over time? Do you want to make that shorter or longer from before?
Yeah, I'm glad that you bring this up because this is actually one of the things I'm very interested in. And it's something that I explored when I was admin on Civ Classic. But, that server was 4 years in. It was kind of late to make any adjustments like that. I think one of the big changes that I'm really looking forward to is localized decay. And by that, I mean when you log into the server, what would happen before is any reinforcements on the entire server would be refreshed. So that you might be across the world from your infrastructure blocks and they were getting reinforced or they were getting refreshed so that they do not decay. And the change with localized decay means the world will feel just a little bit smaller because if you have infrastructure that you don't visit, it will decay even though you're still playing on the server, maybe on the other side of the map.
So people will have to do more than simply log in order to claim the structure. They'll actually have to go there and log the chunks in.
Correct.
How do you intend to create a tech tree that creates an experience which is long lasting and satisfying?
I think this is one of the biggest challenges we'll face because I think it's one of the common complaints. People want a little bit more of a tech tree, and it's a very challenging thing to do because you have to balance it. It can't be too boring. And we're also limited by the constraints of Minecraft. Minecraft doesn't have a super long tech tree, and there's ways you can expand it, but there are certain limitations. That being said, we are looking into ways to expand it because I know on Civ Classic it was kind of a shallow tech tree, and players, reached the end of it pretty quickly. But we're looking at ways to add additional factories to stretch that out, and then also Minecraft has introduced a lot of new materials that we'll be able to. Yeah, definitely that we're going to utilize and add into the tech tree to expand it out.
Yeah, endgame loot was super cheap when I logged on. Like everyone was handing out diamond gear, prop 4 armor, sharpness swords, and all that.
Yeah, and I do think I'm not sure when you joined Civ Classic exactly, but I mean it was a 4 year server, so I think it's understandable that after several years, players will be pretty comfortably at the end of the tech tree. But hopefully, we can have something that makes it a little more diverse. One thing we're looking to try to do is make it more necessary to have groups of people so that one person can't do everything by themselves.
How are you handling pearl times?
Yeah, I think pearls. One thing I want to say right up front is that pearls are very important to our gameplay because, like you say, it's how players enforce. because Pearl is like imprisonment, and it's important. And you see in other types of gameplay like Towny has jails, and other servers have other mechanics. So it's very important to have pearls because it's a necessary tool to be able to enforce justice. But on the other hand, it's no fun if somebody can pearl you and then hold you for 3 years and you can never play the server again. That's just not fun at all. We are exploring several options. I think we're not totally finalized on this because it's a very heated topic. People can go back and forth forever on this. But we are looking at, maybe making it a little more expensive. Uh, some people are in favor as over time having an automatic release kind of system, and I'm really not sure how I feel about that because I feel like that's a little interventionalist to make pearls have to automatically free after a certain length of time. But there's lots of different ideas we're exploring. I wouldn't say we're finalized on any of them yet to let you know, but that information will probably be coming in the future.
Will there be a custom resource pack?
So it's not something that yeah, it's not something we've worked on. I know there are a couple players that have worked on custom resource packs. I think Not NSA comes to mind. I believe he was working on one, and we would definitely be interested in embracing that because I know he was developing it to be Civ specific because it had Civ blocks in it. So I think that's something that really enhances the gameplay just a little bit. So that's definitely something we're interested in. And I like that you brought that up because it actually is not something I'd thought of. So that's definitely something I'll be checking out.
What changes do you intend to make to the Vault meta? Do you think it needs to be nerfed or buffed?
I think vaults are definitely a bit overpowered, and I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. And the admin team on CivMC, I think we're all in unison in agreeing that vaults are a bit overpowered. Now, I also think that if players work hard and they spend the time and resources and effort in building a vault, that, it's a good payout. And by that, I mean, you shouldn't be able to walk up and break it in a couple hours after players have spent a year building it up. But we do have several planned nerfs. None of them are huge nerfs, but I think they'll come together to weaken vaults enough that it'll be a little more viable to attack them, and you might actually see vaults break a little more often.
Are there plans to limit alts or place more limits on bots?
So, alts and botting, I think, are both unique things to Civ, I really think, because botting really isn't allowed on a lot of Minecraft servers. And that is one thing that has drawn players. Is I've met players who join the Civ servers because they found out we allow botting, and a lot of other servers don't. So I think that's an important mechanic to preserve because it's a gameplay feature that's a draw for the genre. Now, that being said, there are aspects of it that are overpowered, and I think that comes down to alts. So we will definitely have restrictions on alts. It's actually something that we fiercely debated, and we haven't settled on a number. But there will definitely be a restriction on how many alts you can have, because botting is a skill like anything else if you have the knowledge to build a bot, but you can also have the knowledge for what enchantments are good or how to mine the best way. So I don't think botting in itself is overpowered, but being able to log in 10 accounts to all bot at the same time, that's absolutely overpowered. And so we'll cut back on that by restricting how many accounts you can have on the server.
What kind of flaws did you think CivClassics have that you are planning on solving with plugins or some kind of admin action?
One of the big things right off the bat is we're planning on bringing Civ into the modern Minecraft, and that means 1.18. Civ Classic was on 1.16, but along the way, at every update, Civ Classic lost features and lost features. So there's lots of vanilla mechanics that weren't on the server. So we're starting right off the bat on 1.18, and we're embracing a lot of those vanilla mechanics and bringing them back into Civ. And so I think I'm hoping that we have an updated Civ that's a little more interesting because that also ties into Factory Mod because Factory Mod has a lot of updates it needs to get a lot of these new resources. And Factory Mod, as we saw it on Civ Classic, a lot of that was crafted around the fact that Civ Classic, the map was generated with lots of issues. So there was lots of issues finding resources. Some biomes just downright weren't available. And so there were lots of recipes built into Factory Mod to replace those resources that you couldn't get. So on CivMC, our map is going to be generated with all the resources on it. We're not going to have missing biomes and we're not going to have any missing resources. So that's going to be one of the big things is you're not going to rely on factory mod to make materials because you can't create them.
Is the map going to be custom generated or not? Like, are you guys generating the map based on the resources available and the kind of diversity of biomes, or is it going to be a random seed?
Right. Well, it will be a the map will be generated. We're gonna use a vanilla generation, so it's not gonna be like a totally like a fantasy type map, and it's not gonna be totally world painted, but it'll be well balanced. We're taking that control over the generation.
Yeah, I remember a specific incident that a CivClassics player actually told me about. It was like the glass shortage. So basically, like the glass, because glass is made from sand. Once all the sand had been mined up, then there was a bit of a dilemma on what to do because obviously glass is very important in the economy because it's one of the key resources to making XP, which is used to enchant armor and all of that.
Yeah, so that is one of the challenges. Sometimes you introduce mechanics that have unforeseen consequences, or you don't expect how players react to it. So, yeah, that definitely, you're referring to the grinding mill, which allowed you to artificially manufacture sand. And sand was a very important part of the XP recipe. So you couldn't acquire XP by Right, right. You couldn't kill mobs for XP or anything like that. The only way to acquire XP was through these factory recipes, and they all required glass bottles. So you had to have sand, and you can't just get sand out of nowhere. You had to go dig in deserts and things like that. And like you said, it was a fairly scarce resource, and it wasn't something that you could just bot. You couldn't just program a bot to go get sand because deserts are hilly and you hit sandstone and things like that. So introducing that factory recipe that allowed you to create it definitely skewed the economy in ways that I think are very interesting and were very unexpected for me. And that's something I followed very closely. And it's definitely a mistake that the CivMC staff we don't want to make. And so we're going back and rethinking how the XP is laid out and the resource balance of it. Because I think that definitely pointed out one of the big flaws with the XP balance on the previous server, where changing that one resource, changing just sand, could have such a drastic effect on the entire economy. It was kind of staggering.
How will farming work in this? Will there be any new plugins or data packs that will make farming more impactful or biome specific?
Yeah, I think I would like to say yes, but the challenges with that is the farming mechanic is very difficult. It's a complicated aspect of Minecraft, and it's very hard to change it much more without getting into lots of right actual mods. And one thing we try to do is we don't really want to get into modded Minecraft. We like players being able to log in and play the server with a normal client. And so unfortunately, there's only so many changes we can make without making it a modded server. So, we embrace realistic biomes and we're trying to take that to a new level. With 1.18 Minecraft, there's 80 biomes.
Like, are you guys generating the map based on the resources available and the kind of diversity of biomes, or is it going to be a random seed?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got 80 biomes, and lots of them are variations. Like you might have plains, hills, extreme hills, wooded forest, wooded hills. So they're all variations of each other, which actually give us the opportunity to tweak realistic biomes and seed, high growth areas, low growth areas in a way that hopefully will be interesting and a little more diversity of gameplay. Because one issue on Civ Classic is you would have one area that was geographically small, but you could have all the different crops you need to grow to get XP. And, with all these additional biomes and the way we're going to generate the map, we're going to craft it so that, no one group can have a small area growing all the resources they are going to need.
Hey, thanks for coming, dude. This was a great review. I hope we'll be seeing more of you soon. And you and your team, you should totally invite some people from your team up. And in the meantime, please remember to support their server on Patreon. They will be launching soon, I guess. And yeah, this was a great interview.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And like I said a little earlier on, is we'll have more information here in the future. We've been working on a lot of things like developing the update to 1.18, and that's taken a lot of our time. And so, here in the next few weeks and couple of months, we'll be getting a lot further along with the balance and a lot of the gameplay decisions that you were asking about. So I would be very interested in a follow up when we get a little closer to our launch.
So, when is the server slated to release?
We don't have a specific date. We would like to have a springtime launch. Um, a lot of it just depends on how the development goes. We're fortunate to have, a lot of the community supporting us and a lot of developers pitching in. So I think it just depends on if we're able to knock out our goals and get some of the things developed.